The silver ship moved through space like a blade cutting silk. Commander Vestan watched the stars from his command chair, his forearms working the control panels with practiced ease. The Zephyrian had been exploring this sector for 3 months, now mapping new worlds for the Galactic Coalition. Most of what they found was empty rock and gas, nothing worth a second look. His ship, the Void's Edge, was one of the Coalition's best survey vessels. It carried a crew of 43 aliens from 6 different species, all working together to expand the known galaxy. Vestan took pride in his work. In 20 years of service, he had discovered 17 habitable worlds and made first contact with 3 new species. Today felt different, though. His sensing tendrils, the long, flexible appendages that grew from his neck, kept twitching. Something was wrong with this system. The star was ordinary, a yellow dwarf much like the human sun. The planet seemed normal too, except for one thing. The third planet, a gas giant with 16 moons, was giving off strange readings. Lieutenant Zixel approached his chair, her scales shifting color with excitement. Commander, we are detecting energy signatures from the 5th moon of Planet 3. The readings do not match any known natural phenomena. Vestan's tendrils curled tighter. Show me the data. The main screen filled with numbers and wave patterns. The energy signature was steady, artificial, and definitely technological. But according to their star charts, this system was empty. No registered colonies, no mining operations, nothing. Could it be a research station? Asked Dr. Mordek from his science station. The insectoid being's compound eyes glittered as he studied the data. Negative, Zixel replied. The pattern suggests a large settlement. Population estimates indicate at least 50,000 beings. 50,000. That was not a research station. That was a colony, and a big one. But who would build a secret colony in unexplored space? And why? Set course for the moon, Vestan ordered. But keep our weapons ready. If someone is hiding out here, they might not want visitors. The Void's Edge changed course, its engines humming quietly. As they got closer to the moon, the readings became clearer. There were buildings, power grids, and what looked like defensive installations. Whoever lived here had been planning to stay. Commander, called Zixel from her station, I am detecting electromagnetic signatures. They match human technology patterns. Humans. Vestan's tendrils relaxed slightly. The Coalition had made contact with humanity 12 years ago. They were a young species, recently admitted as junior members. Their technology was basic, their military weak. If this was a human colony, it should not be a threat. But why would humans build a secret colony? Their homeworld, Earth, was part of the Coalition now. They had access to approved colony worlds. There was no reason to hide in unexplored space, unless they were running from something. The moon grew larger on the screen. It was covered in green vegetation and blue water, a garden world perfect for human life. Cities dotted the surface, connected by roads and transport lines. In orbit around the moon, Vestan could see defensive satellites and what looked like military ships. They know we are here, reported Zixel. I am detecting active scanning from the surface. Any hostile moves? Negative, but they're defensive. Systems are powering up. Vestan made a decision. Open a communication channel. Standard first contact protocols. The screen flickered, then showed the face of a human male. He appeared to be in his 50s with gray hair and calm blue eyes. Behind him, Vestan could see what looked like a military command center. This is Captain Jake Morrison of Haven's Rest Colony, the human said. His voice was steady, showing no fear. You are in our protected airspace. State your business. Protected airspace? This human was speaking like he owned this entire system. Vestan kept his voice diplomatic. Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Commander Vestan of the Coalition survey ship Void's Edge. We detected your settlement during our mapping mission. Your colony is not registered with the Coalition database. Morrison's expression did not change. That is correct. We prefer our privacy. All human colonies must be registered with the Coalition Authority. This is required by the membership treaty your species signed. For the first time, Morrison smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Commander, Haven's Rest was established before Earth joined your coalition. We operate under different rules. This was getting stranger by the minute. Captain, I need to speak with your colonial authority. Coalition law requires that we inspect any unregistered settlements. Of course, Morrison replied. You are welcome to land at coordinates I will transmit. But Commander, I should warn you. Things here are not what they seem. The transmission ended, leaving Vexithan staring at a blank screen. His crew looked at him with expressions of confusion and worry. Sir, said Zixel, should we contact Coalition Command? Vexithan thought about it. Standard procedure was to report any unauthorized colonies immediately, but something about this situation felt different. The human captain had been too calm, too confident. Most species would be nervous when discovered by coalition forces. Morrison had acted like he was in control. Not yet, Vexthan decided. Let us see what these humans are hiding first. Prepare a landing party. As the void's edge descended toward the moon's surface, Vexthan watched the human settlements grow larger. The cities were beautiful with gleaming towers and green parks. But he also noticed something else. Hidden among the civilian buildings were structures that looked suspiciously military, weapon emplacements, shield generators, and what appeared to be launch bays for warships. This was not a simple colony. This was a fortress world. The landing coordinates led them to a spaceport that was far more advanced than anything Vexthan had seen on Earth. Human workers guided their ship to a landing pad with smooth efficiency. As the void's edge settled to the ground, Vexthan could see hundreds of humans watching from observation decks. They did not look afraid. They looked curious, almost excited, like they had been waiting for this moment. Captain Morrison was waiting at the bottom of the landing ramp along with a small group of other humans. As Vexthan descended with his diplomatic team, he noticed that all the humans moved with a kind of controlled grace. They were alert, ready, like soldiers pretending to be civilians. Welcome to Haven's Rest, Morrison said, extending his hand, in the human greeting gesture. I think you will find our little colony very interesting. As Vexthan shook the human's hand, his sensing tendrils detected something that made his blood run cold. The human's muscle density was far higher than normal. His reflexes were enhanced. And there was something in his eyes, a hardness that spoke of violence survived and enemies defeated. These were not ordinary colonists, these were warriors. Dr. Elena Rodriguez walked across the landing pad with the confident stride of someone who belonged here. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the kind of practical clothes that scientists favored. But Vexthan noticed. Her eyes were constantly moving, scanning the area like a soldier checking for threats. Commander Vexthan, she said with a warm smile. I am Dr. Rodriguez, our chief scientist. Captain Morrison asked me to give you a tour of our facilities while he handles some administrative matters. Vexthan nodded politely. Standard diplomatic procedure called for a full inspection of the colony, including their technology, population, records, and resource management systems. What he had seen so far already broke several coalition regulations, but he wanted to understand what was happening here before filing his report. We would be honored to see your colony, Dr. Rodriguez, he replied. As they walked toward a transport vehicle, Vexthan's team spread out slightly. Lieutenant Zixel carried a discreet scanner that would record everything they saw. Dr. Mordek focused on the human technology around them. Security Chief Koltar, a massive reptilian being, watched for potential threats. The transport was sleek and quiet, running on some kind of energy system that Vexthan did not recognize. As they drove through the colony streets, he saw children playing in parks, adults tending gardens, and elderly humans sitting on benches feeding small animals. It looked peaceful, normal, like any human settlement. But the details were wrong. The children moved too fast. Their games required reflexes that seemed impossible for their age. The adults working in the gardens used tools that looked far more advanced than standard human technology. And every single person they passed watched the alien visitors with sharp, intelligent eyes. Your colony is quite developed, Vestan commented. How long have you been established here? 47 years, Dr. Rodriguez replied. We are third-generation colonists now. This is the only home most of us have ever known. And you have maintained no contact with Earth in all that time? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. We left Earth for good reasons, Commander. Sometimes it is better to start fresh. They stopped at what appeared to be a research facility. Inside, Vestan saw laboratories that would not look out of place on the most advanced coalition worlds. Human scientists worked with equipment that generated energy readings his scanner could not identify. Impressive, said Dr. Mordek. This appears to be fusion technology, but the energy output is far beyond standard human capabilities. We have had to become creative, Rodriguez said simply. Living on a frontier world requires innovation. Zixel stepped closer to one of the machines. Dr. Rodriguez, this energy signature matches no known technology in our database. How did your people develop such advanced systems? For just a moment, Rodriguez's friendly mask slipped. Her eyes hardened, and Vestan saw something cold and dangerous underneath. Then she smiled again, and the moment passed. We had good teachers, she said. Their next stop was the medical facility. Here, Vestan saw things that made him question everything he thought he knew about human biology. In one room, a man was regrowing an arm that had apparently been lost in an industrial accident. The limb was already half-formed, growing at a rate that should have been impossible. In another area, children were being tested for what the humans called cognitive enhancement. The young ones solved mathematical problems that would challenge adult coalition scientists. They displayed memory capabilities that bordered on perfect recall. How is this possible? Whispered Zixel. A young human boy, perhaps 10 years old, looked up from his test. Easy, he said. You just have to think faster than the problem. The boy's eyes were bright with intelligence, but there was something else there too. A kind of cold calculation that belonged on the face of a much older person. He went back to his test, solving equations that involved interstellar navigation and quantum mechanics. Our children adapt quickly, Rodriguez explained. They have to. As they left the medical facility, Vestan pulled Rodriguez aside. Doctor, I must ask directly, what happened to your people? These enhancements, this technology, none of it matches what we know about human capabilities. Rodriguez stopped walking. For a long moment, she stared at the mountains in the distance. When she spoke, her voice was very quiet. Commander, has your species ever faced extinction? No. Vestan replied. The Zephyrians have been at peace for over 1,000 years. Then you cannot understand, she said. When death comes for your entire species, when everything you love is about to be destroyed, you change. You become whatever you need to become. To survive. What threatened humanity? Rodriguez looked at him with eyes that had seen terrible things. Not what, Commander? Who? And we survived because we learned to be more dangerous than our enemies. That evening, the aliens were given quarters in a comfortable guest facility, but Vestan could not sleep. His sensing tendrils were picking up vibrations from deep underground. Heavy machinery, massive energy generators, and something else. The sound of many feet moving in perfect formation, like soldiers drilling. He activated his personal scanner and pointed it downward. The readings showed a complex network of tunnels and chambers beneath the colony. Whatever was down there was heavily shielded, but he could detect enough to know it was enormous. Lieutenant Zixel knocked on his door. Commander, you need to see this. She showed him readings from her scanner. During their tour, she had recorded energy signatures from every piece of human technology they had seen. When analyzed together, the patterns were clear. Sir, she said, her scales shifting to worried purple, this technology is not human in origin. The base principles are completely alien, but they have been modified and improved. Whoever developed these systems studied extremely advanced technology and made it better. Better how? More efficient, more powerful, more deadly. Commander, Some of these energy readings suggest weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Vestan stared at the data. A terrible possibility was forming in his mind. Zixel, scan our database for any record of missing or extinct species in this sector. She worked quickly, her fingers dancing over the controls. After several minutes, she looked up with confusion. Sir, there are gaps in the historical record. 7 species that were recorded as existing in this region, but all data about them stops abruptly at different points over the last 50 years. 7 species. 7 potential threats that had simply vanished from galactic history. And here was a secret human colony, armed with impossible technology and populated by enhanced warriors pretending to be peaceful farmers. Vestan's tendrils coiled tight with fear. What had humanity become out here in the dark, between the stars? And more importantly, what had happened to the 7 species that no longer existed? Captain Jake Morrison led the alien delegation into the deepest part of Haven's Rest. They had taken an elevator that descended for what felt like miles, passing through layers of rock and metal until they reached a vast underground chamber. The walls were lined with screens showing star charts, tactical displays, and historical records that made Vestan's sensing tendrils twitch with nervous energy. "What you're about to see," Morrison said as they walked, "is the real reason Haven's Rest exists. We have kept this secret for almost 50 years, but recent events have made us reconsider our isolation." The central archive was a massive circular room with a holographic projector in the center. Professor Lisa Campbell, a woman in her 60s, with silver hair and sharp eyes, stood waiting for them. She wore simple clothes, but Vestan noticed the way she carried herself. This was someone accustomed to command, to making life and death decisions. Professor Campbell was one of the original colonists, Morrison explained. She helped design our defense systems and technology integration programs. Campbell nodded to the aliens. "Before we begin, I want you to understand something. What you're about to see will change how you think about humanity. It may change how you think about the galaxy itself." She activated the projector, and suddenly they were standing in the middle of a holographic recreation of Earth 50 years ago. But this was not the peaceful Earth that had joined the coalition. This Earth was burning. Cities were in ruins, their skyscrapers cracked and smoking. Massive alien ships hung in the sky, firing energy beams that carved deep trenches in the landscape. And everywhere, humans were fighting back with desperate courage against enemies that seemed impossible to defeat. "The Devourers," Campbell said, quietly. "They came without warning, without any attempt at communication. Their only goal was to consume every living thing on Earth." The holographic display showed the alien invaders up close. They were crystalline beings, their bodies made of living silicon that could reshape itself at will. They moved like liquid metal, flowing around human weapons and absorbing everything organic they touched. "Our military was not prepared," Morrison continued. "How could we be? We had never faced anything like this. Within 6 months, they had consumed most of North America and were spreading across the globe." Vestan watched in horror as the holographic humans fought with primitive weapons against technology that seemed like magic. Energy shields that bent around projectiles, ships that could become invisible, weapons that converted matter directly into energy. "How did you survive?" asked Dr. Mordek, his compound eyes wide with shock. Campbell smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "We learned. We adapted. We became what we needed to become." The display changed, showing human scientists working frantically in underground laboratories. They were studying captured devourer technology, taking apart alien weapons and energy systems. "The Devourers made one crucial mistake," Campbell explained. "They assumed we would fight them the same way. We fought each other. They expected us to stick to our old tactics, our old limitations." The holographic scene shifted to show the turning point of the war. Human soldiers were using weapons that looked nothing like traditional Earth technology. They moved faster than should have been possible, their bodies enhanced with alien biotechnology. They fought with a coordination that seemed almost telepathic. "We did not just learn their technology," Morrison said. "We improved it. We made it more efficient, more deadly. and we used it to modify ourselves. Vestan saw humans who could survive in vacuum, soldiers who could regenerate from wounds that would kill normal beings, pilots who could interface directly with their spacecraft. They had turned themselves into living weapons. The final battle lasted 3 days. Campbell continued. The display showed the skies above Earth filled with ships from both sides, energy beams crisscrossing like deadly lightning. When it was over, every single devourer was dead. Not captured, not driven away. Dead. The hologram faded, leaving the aliens standing in silence. Zixel's scales had turned pale with shock. Dr. Mordek was making small, chittering sounds of distress. "You committed genocide," Vestan said finally. "Yes," Campbell replied without hesitation. "They came to our world to consume every living thing. They showed no mercy, offered no surrender, accepted no communication, so we showed them the same courtesy." "But the Coalition has no record of this war," Zixel protested. "No record of any species called the Devourers." Morrison and Campbell exchanged glances. "That is because we made sure there was no record," Morrison said. "We erased every trace of them from galactic history. Every database, every archive, every piece of evidence that they ever existed." "That is impossible," Dr. Mordek said. "The galactic database is maintained by dozens of species across thousands of worlds." "Nothing is impossible if you have the right technology and enough motivation," Campbell replied. "We spent 10 years hunting down every reference to the Devourers in every computer system we could find. We eliminated their homeworlds, their colony ships, their automated probes. We made it as if they had never existed." Vestan felt sick. "Why?" "Because we discovered something terrible," Campbell said. "The Devourers were not the first species to try to destroy humanity. They were just the most recent." The projector activated again, showing a series of historical records. Each one documented a different alien species that had attacked human colonies or Earth itself over the past 2 centuries. Some wanted humans as slaves, others saw them as a threat to be eliminated, still others simply enjoyed causing destruction. 7 species, Morrison said. 7 different alien races that decided humanity needed to be destroyed or enslaved. Each time we fought back. Each time we not only won but made sure they could never threaten anyone else. "You have been secretly fighting a war for 200 years, Vestan asked. "Not fighting," Campbell corrected. "Winning. There is a difference." The record showed the progression of human military technology over the centuries. With each conflict, they had grown stronger, more advanced, more ruthless. They had taken the best technology from each defeated enemy and made it their own. "The galaxy thinks Earth is weak because Earth chooses to appear weak," Morrison explained. "We joined the Coalition as junior members because it was easier than explaining what we really are. We let other species think we are harmless farmers and merchants." "But you are not," Zixel whispered. "No," Campbell said. "We are apex predators who learned that the most effective hunting strategy is to let your prey think you are harmless." She gestured to the walls around them, lined with weapons and technology that could reshape reality itself. "Haven's Rest is not a colony, Commander. It is a fortress. One of 12 hidden bases scattered throughout this region of space. We watch for new threats, we prepare for the next war, and we protect the galaxy from dangers it does not even know exist." "Protect the galaxy?" Vestan asked. Morrison nodded. "In the last 10 years, we have quietly eliminated 4 different species that were planning to attack Coalition worlds. The galaxy sleeps peacefully because humanity stands guard in the darkness." Truth hit Vestan like a physical blow. Humanity had not joined the galactic community as weak junior partners. They had infiltrated it as secret guardians, protecting species that did not even know they needed protection. "The question now," Campbell said, looking directly at Vestan, "is what you plan to do with this knowledge." Commander Vestan stood alone in his quarters aboard the Void's Edge, staring at the emergency transmission he had prepared for Coalition Command. His 4 hands trembled slightly as he reached for the controls. Everything he had learned on Haven's Rest threatened to tear apart his understanding of galactic politics and human nature. The humans had given him access to detailed historical records, tactical analyses, and genetic modification data that proved their claims. Humanity had been fighting secret wars for centuries, eliminating threats that the rest of the galaxy never even knew existed. And now, they were asking him to keep their secret. A soft chime indicated someone requesting entry to his quarters. "Come in," he called, not turning from his console. Security Chief Ryan Brooks stepped through the doorway. The human moved with the fluid grace that all the colonists displayed. But now Vestan understood why. Brooks was not just a security officer. He was a living weapon, genetically enhanced and trained from birth to kill more efficiently than any natural predator. "Commander," Brooks said politely. "Captain Morrison asked me to check if you had any questions before you filed your report." The human's augmented eyes glowed faintly in the dim lighting. Cybernetic implants were visible, behind his ears, connecting his nervous system directly to the colony's information networks. He was probably recording everything that happened in this room. "Many questions," Vestan replied. "But I am not sure I want to know the answers." Brooks moved closer, and Vestan's sensing tendrils detected the barely controlled violence that radiated from the man like heat from a fire. This human could kill everyone on the void's edge without breaking a sweat. "Try me," Brooks said. "The species you eliminated," Vestan began carefully. "How can you be sure they deserved extinction?" "Would you like to see the evidence?" Brooks asked. Without waiting for an answer, he activated a holographic display from his wrist device. The images that appeared made Vestan's stomach turn. Entire planet stripped of all life, with alien machinery converting organic matter into raw materials. Space stations filled with the preserved remains of different species, cataloged like specimens in a laboratory. Video logs showing captured beings tortured for entertainment. "The Bone Reapers," Brooks explained calmly. "They hunted intelligent species for sport. They would capture entire populations and keep them alive for years, harvesting their fear and pain as a delicacy." The display changed to show another species, insectoid creatures with multiple arms and cold, calculating eyes. The Hive Masters. They used biological weapons to turn other species into slave drones. We found 17 different civilizations that they had converted into mindless workers. More images followed, each one worse than the last. Species that ate intelligence itself, leaving their victims alive but empty. Aliens that bred other beings like livestock, using them as living factories for exotic materials. Creatures that could rewrite DNA with a touch, turning their enemies into twisted versions of themselves. Each species we eliminated had already destroyed multiple civilizations, Brooks continued. They were not random threats, Commander. They were systematic genocidal forces that would have eventually found and destroyed every peaceful species in the galaxy. But how did you find them? Before they attacked the Coalition? Brooks smiled coldly. Because we learned to think like predators. We do not wait for threats to come to us. We hunt them down in their lairs. The human showed him star charts that covered hundreds of light years. Red marks indicated locations where humanity's secret fleets had eliminated hostile species. Green marks showed civilizations that had been saved without ever knowing they were in danger. 43 species, Brooks said. 43 different civilizations that would have been destroyed if we had not acted first. Some of them are Coalition members now. They owe their existence to human vigilance, and they will never know it. Vestan stared at the charts. The scope of humanity's secret war was staggering. They had been fighting battles across the galaxy for centuries, always in shadow, always alone. Why tell us this, he asked. Why reveal your secret now? Because something new is coming, Brooks replied. His expression grew serious. Our deep space monitors have detected energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy. Something big, something we have never seen before. We may need help this time. The human activated another display showing long-range sensor data that made no sense. The energy patterns were massive, artificial, and moving toward the galactic core at incredible speed. What is it? Vestan asked. We do not know yet, but our analysis suggests it is a fleet of some kind. Thousands of ships, maybe millions, and they are not using any technology in our database. Vestan felt his sensing tendrils curl with fear. If something was big enough to worry humanity, it was probably big enough to destroy the entire galaxy. How long before they arrive? 6 months, maybe less. That is why Captain Morrison is considering making contact with the Coalition officially. We have always fought alone, but this threat may be beyond our ability to handle. The implications hit Vestan like a meteor strike. Humanity was preparing to reveal itself to the galaxy, to step out of the shadows and stand openly as guardians. The political chaos would be enormous. Some species would be grateful, others would be terrified. Many would demand that humanity be restrained or controlled. There is something else, Brooks continued. Something you need to understand about human nature. We do not just fight to protect ourselves. We fight to protect everyone, even species that fear us or hate us. He showed Vestan footage from recent human operations, secret interventions that had saved coalition worlds from threats their own governments never detected. Covert missions that prevented wars between allied species. Quiet assassinations of leaders who were planning genocide against their own people. We are not saints, Commander. We have done terrible things in the name of protection. But everything we have done, we did to preserve life and freedom in the galaxy, and if the Coalition tries to stop you? Brooks was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute conviction. Then the Coalition would discover why 43 predator species failed to destroy humanity. We do not want to fight our allies, but we will not allow anyone to prevent us from protecting the innocent. Vestan understood the message. Humanity would continue their secret war regardless of what the Coalition decided. The only question was whether the galactic government would work with them or become another obstacle to eliminate. What do you want from me? Vestan asked. Make the right choice, Brooks replied. Report what you have seen here, or keep our secret. Either way, humanity will continue to do what we do best. Which is? Brooks smiled, and for a moment, Vestan saw the apex predator that lurked beneath the human's civilized exterior. Survive, adapt, and eliminate anything that threatens the people we have chosen to protect. As Brooks left his quarters, Vestan turned back to his console. The emergency transmission to Coalition Command was still waiting to be sent. With one command, he could reveal humanity's secret to the galaxy and change the course of galactic history. His sensing tendrils detected movement in the corridor outside. More humans were passing by, going about their daily lives. To anyone watching, they looked like ordinary colonists. But now Vestan knew the truth. Each one was a living weapon, trained and enhanced to fight wars that most species could not even imagine, and in 6 months they might be the galaxy's only hope for survival. The morning sun cast long shadows across Haven's Rest, as the Zephyrian delegation prepared for their final meeting with the colony leadership. Commander Vestan had spent the entire night wrestling with the decision that would determine not just the fate of this secret human settlement, but possibly the future of the entire galaxy. Mayor Susan Taylor sat at the head of the conference table in the colony's main administrative building. At 68 years old, she had the weathered look of someone who had seen too much and survived anyway. Her gray hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore practical clothes that would not look out of place on any frontier world. But her eyes held depths that spoke of hard choices made and consequences accepted. Beside her sat the other colony leaders, Captain Morrison with his military bearing, Dr. Rodriguez with her scientist's curiosity, and Professor Campbell with her engineer's precision. At the far end of the table, young Amy Foster took notes on a tablet. At 16, she was supposedly just an intern helping with record keeping. But Vestan had learned not to trust appearances when it came to these humans. Before you make your decision, Commander, Mayor Taylor began, there is something else you need to see. She activated the room's holographic display system, and suddenly they were looking at a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Hundreds of thousands of star systems glittered in the air above the table, connected by trade routes and communication, networks that represented the vast web of galactic civilization. This is what we are protecting, Taylor said simply. The display zoomed in on different sectors, highlighting coalition worlds, independent systems, and unexplored regions. Green indicators showed peaceful civilizations going about their daily lives. Yellow markers indicated areas of tension or minor conflicts, and scattered throughout the galaxy, barely visible red dots marked locations where humanity's secret fleets maintained their silent vigil. 2 billion sentient species, Dr. Rodriguez added. Trillions of individual beings living their lives, raising their children, building their futures. They sleep safely because they do not know what lurks in the darkness between the stars. The HFY display shifted to show recent intelligence reports, energy signatures from dead systems where something had consumed entire solar systems, automated probes sending distress signals before going silent, deep space monitoring stations detecting massive objects moving through the void. The threat I mentioned yesterday is getting closer, Captain Morrison said. Our long-range sensors have identified it as a fleet of harvester ships. They appear to be artificial intelligences left behind by some extinct species, programmed to consume organic matter and convert it into more ships. Vestan studied the data with growing alarm. The fleet was enormous, thousands of ships each, the size of a small moon. Their projected course would take them straight through the heart of Coalition space. How long have you known about this? He asked. 3 months, Morrison replied. We have been tracking them since they entered this galaxy. Based on their current speed, they will reach the outer Coalition worlds in approximately 4 months. 4 months, Zixel whispered. Why did you not warn the Coalition immediately? Mayor Taylor looked at her with tired eyes. Because the Coalition is not ready for this kind of threat. Your military doctrine is based on defense and negotiation. These machines do not negotiate. They do not surrender. They simply consume everything in their path. The holographic display showed tactical simulations of what would happen if the Harvester fleet encountered a typical Coalition defense force. The results were not encouraging. Even the most optimistic scenarios showed massive casualties and the loss of multiple star systems. But there is another option, Professor Campbell said. She manipulated the display to show a different set of simulations. This time, the defenders were human ships using the advanced technology that Haven's Rest had developed over decades of secret warfare. The battles were still brutal, but humanity's superior weapons and tactics made a difference. Ships that could phase in and out of normal space, weapons that could tear apart matter at the molecular level, and fighters piloted by enhanced humans who could react faster than any organic nervous system should allow. We can stop them, Campbell continued, but only if we fight with everything we have. No holding back, no rules of engagement, no mercy for machines that show none. Amy Foster looked up from her tablet. Despite her young age, she spoke with the confidence of someone much older. The question is not whether we can protect the galaxy. Commander, the question is whether the galaxy will let us. Vexathon understood what she meant. If humanity revealed itself now, the political chaos could be catastrophic. Some Coalition species would welcome human protection, but others would be terrified of the implications. Fear could lead to conflict, and conflict would weaken the galaxy at the worst possible moment. There is a third option, Mayor Taylor said quietly. We continue as we have always done. We fight the Harvesters in secret, protect the galaxy without revealing ourselves, and let history judge whether our methods were justified. But this time might be different, Morrison added. This threat is larger than anything we have faced before. We may not be able to contain the battle. The galaxy will see our ships, our weapons, our true capabilities. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. After decades of hiding in the shadows, humanity might be forced into the light whether they wanted it or not. What do you need from us? Vexthon asked finally. Time, Taylor replied. Time to position our fleets, time to prepare our defenses, time to ready our weapons for the largest battle in galactic history. We need you to delay your report to Coalition Command until we are ready. And if we refuse? Taylor's expression did not change, but Vexthon felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. Then we will do what we have always done, Commander. We will protect the galaxy regardless of the cost. The meaning was clear. Humanity would fight the Harvesters with or without Coalition approval. If necessary, They would eliminate anyone who tried to stop them, even their supposed allies. "You are asking us to become part of your conspiracy," Dr. Mordek said. "No," Amy Foster replied. "We are asking you to help us save everyone you have ever cared about." She activated her tablet and shared data that made Vexathon's sensing tendrils recoil in horror. Detailed analysis of what the Harvester fleet would do to coalition worlds. Populations consumed and converted into raw materials. Entire civilizations reduced to basic elements and rebuilt into more war machines. "This is what happened to the Andromedans," Foster continued. "An entire galaxy consumed by their own creations. Nothing left but empty space and automated factories, building more harvesters to spread to other galaxies. The implications were staggering. This was not just a threat to the coalition or even to their galaxy. It was a threat to all life everywhere." "If we succeed," Taylor said, "the galaxy continues as it always has. Peaceful species trade and explore while humanity watches from the shadows. If we fail, everything ends." Vexthon looked at his crew, members. Zixel's scales had gone pale with fear. Dr. Mordek was making small chittering sounds of distress. Even tough security chief Koltar looked shaken by what he had seen. "What guarantee do we have that humanity will not abuse this power?" Vexthon asked. "None," Taylor replied honestly. "You have only our word and our history. For 2 centuries, we have had the power to conquer the galaxy. Instead, we have chosen to protect it. That will not change." Amy Foster stood up, her young face serious beyond her years. "Commander, my great-grandmother fought the Devourers when they came to destroy Earth. My grandmother hunted the Bone Reapers when they tried to harvest coalition worlds. My mother eliminated the Void Walkers when they attempted to drag our reality into their dimension of eternal darkness." She gestured to the holographic display still showing the approaching Harvester fleet. "Now it is my turn to stand guard. The only question is whether you will help us or whether you will force us to fight alone." Vexthon realized that he was looking at the future of humanity. Not Amy Foster, the teenage intern, but Amy Foster, the next generation of Guardian, ready to sacrifice everything to protect people who would never know her name. "Time," he said finally. "How much time do you need?" 2 weeks, Morrison replied. 2 weeks to position our fleets and prepare our defenses. After that, report whatever you feel you must report." Vexthon made his decision. "Dr. Mordek, delete the energy readings from our sensors. Zixel, classify this system as uninhabitable due to radiation anomalies. Koltar, our scanner data will show that we found nothing but empty space." His crew stared at him in shock, but they began carrying out his orders. Within minutes, all record of Haven's Rest and its advanced human technology had been erased from their official logs. "Commander," Mayor Taylor said quietly, "you may have just saved the galaxy." "No," Vexthon replied, looking out the window at human children playing in the streets, unaware that they were the descendants of history's most effective predators. "You did that long ago. We just finally realized it." As the Void's Edge prepared to leave Haven's Rest, Vexthon filed his official report with Coalition Command. It described a routine survey mission that had found nothing of interest in the designated sector.